Well, hello everybody. Looks like I'm gonna break my promise of not doing any politics all through the holidays. I had planned not to, but I made the mistake of turning on the national news, CBC, today, and I watched their political panel go through disallowance. Complete, and I repeat, complete fabrication of not only Canada's highest laws, fabrication of Alberta Sovereignty Act, fabrication of Ontario with Doug Ford, and recently what happened with the teachers and the whole strike in education in the province of Ontario. More than that, the Saskatchewan First Act. Folks, I've tagged a whole bunch of media here. 4 panel guests. I put Bloomberg in there, but it's Canada's Bloomberg. CNN, Fox News, as well as Tucker Carlson. Now, Americans are going to understand exactly what I'm saying here. If Canadians go to Wikipedia like those 4 politicos in Canada did from 4 Canadian media companies, they would completely lie to you all. I mean, complete and utter misinformation. Disallowance, you've all heard of the notwithstanding clause. Well, the Canadian Parliament, as well as legislatures, can do disallowance. It's a crown power. Governor and council. What's council? Well, that's the governor elected to a council chosen by Prime Minister. Governor General, same thing. Leader of the hand-chosen cabinet. This is all about secret orders in council, or as I like to tell you all, absolutely zero democracy. Not one shred of democracy in this type of legislation. But there's a whole bunch of problems with Wikipedia's narrative. It needs a Supreme Court justice, i.e. Justice Wagner, to run through that shitty publication too. I'm glad he ran through the narration of Queen Elizabeth's land to now absolutely what it is when you look it up, federal and provincial crown land. When I did Alberta Independence Party, this was a huge fight. I ran for Premier of Alberta. It was a fight that everything Canadians were taught about the Crown and Crown lands, for example, was a big lie. Well, guess what, folks? Disallowance in Wikipedia and many publications, false, wrong, completely wrong. Hear me out. There is a song, and this is going to sit well with CNN and Fox News, All American Bloomberg. Everybody else, they're going to be going, huh? What are you talking about? I've told a lot of people about this, and there's a cartoon you can get. It's funny, Ian Bjorkman was looking at all the civics. It's called Civics. We don't have civics in Canada. USA, you're born into civics. The youngest children start civics education in early childhood development. There is a video you can all look up. It's called This Is a Bill. And it's a cartoon from the early 70s, I think 1971. And there's a piece of paper there, and he's standing in Washington on the steps. The steps. You got Congress, Senate, and he's standing on the steps. He's going, "This is a bill. I am a bill." And he's just a little white piece of paper rolled up. He's going to become an act. But he's just a bill. He's just a bill. Bills in Canada are federal. You're a bill. You go through a House and a Senate vote, just like the United States of America. The biggest difference being is once that bill is passed, you've heard that, a bill is passed, and then it is ascended. Canadians, This is the problem with USA versus Canada. In Canada, you need royalty to ascend it. In our Constitution, the highest authority of Canada is the royalty. That royalty is appointed absolutely and entirely by the Prime Minister of Canada, or by the Prime Minister of Canada to the highest crown authority that used to represent Queen Elizabeth II, the Governor General. That's the highest crown authority in Canada. That crown authority stamps every single bill passed by Senate and House, just like USA, but it got to get royal assent. Big difference. Doesn't matter what is made or done, the royalty decides. For every province, you get acts of the legislature. Not bills, folks. They're not bills. They're acts of the legislature. They become enacted when the lieutenant governor stamps it off. That's ascension. How do you get lieutenant governors put in place? The Governor General of Canada puts them there, and they all swear an oath to Governor General of Canada, whom is sworn and appointed to by Prime Minister. This has always been Canada. It's an illusion of democracy. Now, folks, what's written about disallowance in Wikipedia is 110% wrong. It's so flatulently wrong. I mean, a whopping pile of hot shit that any American aged 7 years or older, an American child, would read that, or with the parent read that, and they go, no, mommy and daddy, that's not right. Those Canadians are dead wrong. It's not how it works. They're wrong. That is not an enactment federally. This is of the provinces. They would understand that as their state. They learn it by 7 years old. It's absolutely part of their civics. There is no crown ascension in the United States of America. House and Congress work in unison. They have different sides. Senate bills or House bills, doesn't matter. They both look at it, vote it through. All of Canada's Senate is not only appointed by Prime Minister, lifetime, they are all sworn to whomever is the sitting Prime Minister. Absolutely. That's their oath. Totally and utterly different than the United States of America. Completely undemocratic. They don't even have conservative, liberal NDP. They have totally different party names. It's a House of Lords. Whose Lords? Lord Supreme, His Majesty Justin Trudeau. That's their honorary titles, folks. I'm sorry, but CBC, The Star, Canada's Bloomberg, Global, all wrong on the panel today. They all read Wikipedia. They showed the world, at least Americans, anyone from CNN, Fox News, Tucker Carlson's going to go, what? That's all wrong. Even with the Crown Power, the way you look at acts and bills, whether it's provincially or federally, is dead wrong. The way you narrate it is like a child. A child. An American child would have that trouble under the age of 6. A 7-year-old American will get it right. It's been that way for a long time. Americans took on civics shortly after World War II, absolutely cemented by the early 70s. That's why those mass videos produced. That's why it's ingrained in childhood development. There's promises in the UN like this, in the Charter, we're promised to educate our citizens. We don't even know how to narrate our own civics because nobody teaches civics in any institutions in Canada. Zero, none whatsoever. Again, what are you going to say? Subjects and savages? Are you going to go through the bill process and the holier-than-thou Lord Senate, the gods over you, Governor General, Lieutenant Governors, and really, you don't even need any democracy. Folks, championing the Sovereignty Act or fearful of the Sovereignty Act or fearful of the Saskatchewan First Act. I can tell you, as an actual separatist who ran a separatist platform in Canada, the only real one in a majority, I actually ran for premier under an absolutely legal path to independence of a province from Canada. Absolutely. In a majority. Majority MLAs, provincial legislature, did that. And I can tell you all clearly, the Sovereignty Act does nothing but give autocratic power to the provincial government. Disallowance? Blah, ha, ha. You get to go to the Supreme Court of Canada. In Canada, we're a constitutional monarchy. I want to educate media too. These children, they speak like little children under the age of 6 in civics, comparatively to an American child. Folks, our Supreme Court of Canada is absolutely appointed and sworn to the Governor General of Canada, i.e. your Prime Minister. How well will you do challenging the federal government in King's Court against disallowance or use of notwithstanding clauses? I suggest people go read 1982 over again. Peter Lougheed fucked up. You see the extent of the notwithstanding clause and the subject to after the charter and into the amendments. There's a before and there's an after. Everything is always a ruse in Canada. It is pathetic. It's pathetic that so many people claiming to be constitutional experts are nothing of the sort. In fact, they're more likely Crown-empowered constitutionalists, keeping that Crown power a big, fat secret, keeping everybody dumbed down. They use it for their privilege too, because after all, they're oath sworn and oath bound to that Crown. The Sovereignty Act and the Saskatchewan First Act, all they do is kiss butt. They talk about enactments, and through acts, they never talk about the bills, and they never talk about the ability to become an act through the Crown. The Crown they are subject to. Does everybody understand that? Subject to the Crown. The Crown doesn't defeat the Crown. The Crown is all one entity, all in itself. They work together. The only thing the Alberta Sovereignty Act and the Saskatchewan First Act do is give an autocratic power, a matching privilege that the federal government has had forever and a day, called the Privy Council, the ability to make orders in council, undemocratic legislation, free from the constraints of public viewing, made in secret, passed by an appointed few, not debated by the moral majority, handed off, signed off, Crown autocracy. That is all that's happening with the Alberta Sovereignty Act and the Saskatchewan First Act. Absolute undemocratic ability to pass provincial acts. It never once says, I looked at the Saskatchewan First Act, I looked clearly through the Sovereignty Act, even through its final amendment, that power of autocracy is still there. Never once mentions a bill, never once mentions a federal bill, talks about acts. Legislatures ascend acts. Parliaments ascend bills. Any American child over the age of 7 years old will clearly explain this for you. It's pretty sad when university graduates, apparently the best of the best politicos in Canada, can't figure this stuff out. Legal speak's important because we know what lawyers and justices do with it. It's a paper tiger, the Alberta Sovereignty Act, except for the fact it gives tremendous autocratic power to the provincial politicians, whomever you elect. Congratulations for Alberta and Saskatchewan. All you have there is the ability to lose your provincial democracy in those respective sections. That's it. Disallowance notwithstanding clause, all encompassing almighty crown power, as it's always been. A lot of people don't understand crown power, crown ascension, the absolute crown of the province and the federal government, who for all intents and purposes hold in their division of powers absolute authority over all of us, the subjects, and the First Peoples, who are savages. That is the legal speak of Canada forever and a day. You will never find us in any act or bill ever referred to as citizens, even in the Citizenship Act. You will find the word subjects. Clearly, subjects. We've never been people. We're not codified in any of our highest laws. We are nothing like the United States and many, many, many other countries around the world. We are a constitutional monarchy, a 950-year-old system that gives divinity to politicians, gods over us, the subjects who are obedient slaves to that divinity. There's no democracy in that. It's the illusion of democracy. It's the illusion they give it to you. Democracy works as long as the crown doesn't have to usurp it, which they do all the time. They're called orders in council. And now there's two provinces who have their own provincial order in council. That's what those two acts build. Anyone else telling you anything else, any media, CBC, Global, Canada, Bloomberg, not America, Bloomberg, anybody else telling you anything else is a liar. Is a liar. Go talk to America. Go watch some civic videos that Americans have been learning for many, many generations. They're born into it. They teach them. They teach them at least the very basics of how laws are made and how their power works as people, understanding the system. We don't get that education in Canada. No, we don't. We've never got it. I went to school. I went to a high academic high school, actually. Never learned any of that. Not any social studies. Not anything. Not nothing. Nobody I know ever has. Nobody I know. That's the truth. Get it shared. Myth bust these tyrants, because the longer we let the media lie to us, we don't hold journalists to account, we don't send them on an educational search for the truth, we're allowing them to abuse us as much as the government abuses us, because they're hand in hand. They remain ignorant, we allow them to be ignorant. I'm sure somebody will correct Wikipedia in the years to come. Somebody of the first class, maybe.